Good morning, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to start with Valerie Schaefer from the Economic Development Corporation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The EDC board did meet on Monday, so you have a copy of our board packet in front of you. It was mostly a lot of year-end operational items that we had to take care of. So in terms of our financials, we ended the year $85,368.10 under budget. That's on page 12. We did have a few transfers at the end of the year. None of the transfers required prior approval of the commissioners or county council. You'll see we did really well with budgeting this year. One line item was only $2.05 over, $50, $21, and then one $2,120 over, but that was for legal services, and it's really hard to predict the number of projects and how we engage our attorney every year.
We know all about that.
So that you will be seeing after the EDC receives our first budget installment, that return of $85,368 to the consolidated edit fund, so we can start fresh with our new 2025 budget. And we also had, some administrative things regarding our banking and changing signers based on our new officers. But really, that was the main point of the meeting. In terms of EDC activity, we're extremely busy right now with business development. We've got 3 projects that we're a finalist for in Indiana that we're working really hard on putting our best foot forward with incentive proposals and ensuring that we're building a strong business case for those companies to locate here. So hopefully we'll know more in the coming months on where we pan out with those projects. The one other thing I wanted to talk with you about this morning was the unit contribution agreements with our participating cities and towns. I did speak with Steve Mills yesterday. East Germantown has approved the 4-year agreement. He just hasn't executed it and sent it back. So that's the last one that I'm expecting in terms of communities that have decided to participate. However, I am waiting to hear back from Milton on what their decision is.
Did you hear anything from Spring Grove? I know they were meeting
I think they were to execute last night.
So I have not heard from AJ an update
Okay.
from the
I
meeting.
talked to him yesterday and that was their plan.
They were
They had a meeting
engaging?
last night, yes.
I'll follow up with AJ today,
Okay.
get more details. Great. But we have not, as a group, formally discussed Hagerstown's proposal to sign on for only 2 years rather than 4. So I thought we could take some time this morning to talk about your thoughts, since the contract is with the county, not with the EDC, and see what your reaction is to that proposal.
Thank you for bringing that up. We have talked about it a couple of times, and I think speaking for myself, I'm not eager to have different communities participate at different levels and different time frames. Val, you and I went to several of the communities and talked to them directly, and to do that more frequently than every 4 years, while we want to keep lines of communication open. I think the reason we set up many years ago the 4-year term was so that every elected official in every town or the city or the county would have an opportunity in their term of office to weigh in on a decision of participation and how to go about expending edit dollars. So I see no reason to change that. I have talked to folks on the Hagerstown Council, and remember that there are 2 new members, so I'm not in any particular hurry, depending on your feelings, about making a firm no at this point. But they did submit to us a contract that was rewritten to say 2 years instead of 4 years, and I'm not interested in accepting that 2-year contract. So I'll let you guys weigh in
Yeah.
on where you're at.
I kind of have the same feelings as Jeff does. I do want to reach out to a couple of the board members in Hagerstown and speak to them myself and see what their rationale is and talk to them. But I really don't have an appetite to change from all the other communities for the same reasons Jeff said. That, I mean, 4 years seems to be working for us, and I don't see, I just want to hear the rationale why they feel like 2 years is going to be better for them.
I think your report today is a perfect example of why the consolidated edit process was established to begin with. We're a finalist for 3 companies potentially relocating here. And the entire reason of having a consolidated edit program is to pay for the Economic Development Corporation, the staff, the operations of that organization. The intent is to create a better economy in Wayne County so that people who live here can also work here. And it is not necessarily to give every participating community their money back for their own projects. If they're participating in consolidated edit, they keep half of that money, and that's for their own projects. And we certainly support that and expect that. But it is not the intent, nor should it be, in my opinion, the mission of the Economic Development Corporation or of the Consolidated Edit Program to make sure that each community gets their money back every year. The mission is to improve the economy of Wayne County so that people who live here, people who might come here, have the opportunity to work in Wayne County. So, Aaron, your thoughts?
I would agree. I believe it should be continually a 4-year contract. That's what's been set up. That's what's worked. And it's worked very well. And it gives an opportunity to work 4 years and work on some solid partnerships with those communities for 4 years. And like Jeff said, it gives every elected official in that area an opportunity to have a say in that during their term. I don't think that we should limit that or allow the 2 year. I think it should continue staying 4. And, hopefully Hagerstown, I mean, if they have some projects or something that they would like to, present to you through the EDC that they would like to work on, I would hope that they would present that. So I hope they would keep that communication going back and forth. And I'm the same. I've reached out to a couple that would like to have some further conversations that sit on the board.
As we're having this discussion, I'm going back and forth, should we just go ahead and say, no, a 2-year contract is not going to be acceptable, and give them the opportunity still to change their position and opt in for a 4-year contract, or should we just wait and see?
I think I don't want to say an outright no until I at least talk to a few board members and get the rationale directly from them. I'm leaning towards a no, but I want to give them the opportunity to explain to me directly why.
And I would agree.
And I'm definitely at a no, but if we want to wait and give you guys some time.
Unless there's something
additional
urgent
time
that we
reach
have to
out.
do it, act on it today or.
No, I just want it to be clear that they are currently not participants in the Consolidated Edit Program.
We don't want to drag it out for months.
Exactly. We need to know.
Has your board membership been adjusted accordingly, or is that?
So currently Brad Robinson is the Hagerstown Town Council's appointment. He is still on the board. It would take a 2/3 vote of the EDC board to remove him if Hagerstown does not end up signing an agreement with the county, whether that's 2 years or 4 years. That board position could be eliminated if we don't come to a resolution.
And to me, that's almost an irrelevant sidelight of this, but it was, that board position was taken away from Fountain City when they opted out of the program. So, if you guys want some more time.
Yeah, I'll make a
that's
commitment in
fine.
the next week to reach out and have my discussions, and I'll be ready by next Wednesday's
Great, so that you'll
meeting
know,
to
you'll know before your next board meeting what
what we decide.
council or commissioner's
And-
position is, so.
I do want to share that at their last town council meeting, I believe it was last week, Gary Schutte, who gives an update every month on the Heart of Hagerstown's Main Street group, that group actually wrote a letter to town council discouraging them from pulling out of participating with the EDC and collaborating in countywide economic development. So the business community has come together to say that they believe in the work that we are doing and want Hagerstown to remain fully engaged for 4
And
years.
there are 2 new council members who.
And that's
have
why
not
I
taken a
really
position
wanna-
yet, but that could impact us.
And that's my reasoning. I mean, as of right now, yes, I'm a no to the 2-year. But I just want to go to the source and have a conversation. So,
Absolutely.
So one area that I do need some clarity on, since we're kind of in this gray area with Hagerstown, is the one program we have active right now is the Wayne County Blight Program. We have already paid for the environmental inspection for one house in Hagerstown that has run through the unsafe building process. I would like your permission to let that property continue on with demolition, with the idea that we will not inspect any other homes until we have more clarity on their future
I have no
participation.
problem with that.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
All right, great. Okay,
All right. Anything else?
that's it for today.
Any other questions for Val?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
I do, I'm sorry. Make my move. How we doing?
Yes, we are at 21 workers. We have, I think, we have 4 in acceptance stage that are looking for housing, and then 6 offers have been made. So I just had a conversation with our Make My Move liaison yesterday, and the IEDC, so the city has a contract with Make My Move to provide services, and then Make My Move has a contract with the IEDC, and then there's a grant agreement between the city and the IEDC for the reimbursement of administration costs. So for this next round, the IEDC felt like there should be a larger worker goal than what we have. So if you recall, the first contract was for 20 workers. The amendment was to increase the goal to 30. The IEDC wants it to be 32. So
32.
so then we have to renew a contract with the city and a new grant agreement potentially. So just want to give you a heads up that our goal might move slightly, which is good. We're not going to have to pay Make My Move anymore, and hopefully we'll get 2 more families to relocate here
What is the time frame now going forward on this new contract?
through September.
September?
So
of this
essentially, we got 9 months of
Good shape.
services from Make My Move for free because we did not have a signed contract. So it really extended the timeline for us to meet our goals. So I think it worked out in our favor.
Don't tell anybody.
What about Ready To? Have you heard anything? What's going on?
I think the holidays combined with a lot of changes at IEDC, with the new governor's administration, things have really slowed down with approval of projects. So we're hoping things will pick back up here very soon.
So can you talk a little bit about the idea that the region has to have spent, is it 65%?
65%.
Of Ready One's allocation before they will approve any projects of Ready Two?
It's not that they won't approve projects, they won't disperse any Ready To dollars until we've expended 65% of our Ready One allocation, which
And where
was
are we at?
$15 million. We're, I think, about 45%, but Richmond is submitting reimbursement for the demolition costs for the Elder Beerman building, and then site work will start pretty quickly thereafter, and then that will draw down the rest of our $2.95 million allocation for Wayne County. So, we're gonna help speed that up and get to a higher percentage pretty quickly, and there are some other reimbursements in the pipeline as well. So hopefully we'll be there by mid-year.
So just
least.
Richmond's allocation is 20% of the total, so.
Exactly,
that's-
it'll help a lot.
So that should happen fairly quickly in the next 6 months, certainly. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks, Val.
Next is Dan Burke, County Health Department. How are you, sir?
Too bad. Good morning.
Good morning.
I sent the commissioners 3 topics I would like to discuss today, and I'm going to throw in a 4th real quick. I just got an email yesterday from State Department of Health, reference to our PhEP grant. It's a Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant. We bowed out of it last year due to our administrative changes. We didn't know where we were going to be. They're asking for a commitment by the 24th, which is next Friday. It's typically a $25,000 grant. We've operated it for years and years and years. The health board has no issue with us reapplying, so I'm asking the commissioners' permission to reapply for this grant.
Have you completed the paperwork that we
He
need?
will by
for-
next Wednesday.
I couldn't find it.
You will?
I tried. So
Okay,
Steve and I had a conversation about that this morning.
all right. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Subject to completing the
Yes, and
paperwork.
Correct.
by Wednesday.
And the purpose of this grant is to partnership with EMA, and then we have tabletop exercises for long-term care, health clinics, things of that nature. Won't be used for any physical items or employee.
We have a motion and a second to allow submission of the grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is the Medicaid portal. Commissioner Plaster and Ron, we had a conversation via email about this. They're asking for a signature, and after speaking to other counties, it is a standard for the president of the commissioners to sign this document. So we're asking the commissioners to give Jeff the authority to sign this. And what it is, Medicaid portal allows us to verify eligibility. It allows us to submit claims, to view claim statuses, to receive reimbursement from Medicaid itself.
I'll make a motion for the president, to approve the president to sign that.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to allow the president to sign the application for access to the Medicaid portal. Medicaid portal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is the amendment to Reed Hospital's HFI contract. The Health Board approved option 2 yesterday, contingent on the State Department of Health approving my carryover request on the budget. I have a meeting this Friday with the finance manager for the State Department of Health on the Health First Indiana. And as we had spoke on the phone last week, she's saying there's not going to be an issue with this carryover request. It will be approved essentially. So I'm asking the commissioners to approve this contract amendment contingent on the carryover request approval, so I can go ahead and get it posted for the 30-day requirement from the state.
And whether or not the carryover is approved, you still have enough money in your budget to pay for this contract, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's not approved, I will still be able to, let's see here. I believe it's $92,000 I'll have left over, even if it's not approved on the carryover
If it is
request.
approved.
If it's approved, it's $242,000.
And you'll have to come back to us then for approval if you go back to your board and say if, for some reason, they don't approve the carryover, which,
And I'm
Correct.
sure that-
So
I'm
what,
sure
if you guys approve my request today, I'll get it posted on our website for the 30 days, and after that 30 days, I'll take it back to the health board for their signature, and then to the commissioners for their signature.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And the last item is our 340B consultant proposal. The health board approved the NELCO proposal yesterday. I'm asking the commissioners to approve this proposal so we can go into the contract stage. The consultant actually sent me the contract last night before I left work, and I have it out to Chris Armour, our attorney, to review as well, if the commissioners approve this proposal.
So at this point, you're just asking us to approve the proposal and not necessarily the contract.
Correct.
The details need to still be worked out, so all three of us were at your meeting yesterday. We heard the discussion.
And that's what I was gonna state for the audience too, that we're not making these decisions based on a 2-minute conversation. All three of us were at the board meeting yesterday, heard the full discussion and all this stuff that you're talking about. So with that being said, I'll move for approval to.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the proposal, going to the next step with the consultant for the 340B program, which can be a significant program for the health department. If there are no further discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Keep up
Thank
the
you,
good
sir.
work.
You're doing a great job over there, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Let's go off script here for a moment since Steve Kaiser is here. And Steve, if you're ready, why don't you come on up and we won't make you wait until 10:30 to give your presentation.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
First off, thank you very much for having us.
Sure.
Chief and I, Chief Mike Taylor, don't know if any of you know him or not.
No, hi, Mike. Thanks for coming.
I could do a little better job with my email to Jeff. I'll apologize for that. We do have our big subject of our condemnment of our station. It's been ongoing
Well, let's be clear, it's not condemned.
yet.
It has an unsafe building order against it to repair posts, the support posts, so it's not been condemned.
Which we do frequently at the fairgrounds with our pole barns out there, right? So it can be done. What,
Yeah, it's, Steve just told me when he was walking out that he sent a letter, I should see it next day or two, so. So when I was there first time, I know
saw a
that's a
copy
top.
of it, Steve, it basically says you have until June, I
June.
think, to make the repairs.
That was our major topic of coming. Since then, there's been 2 questions or maybe 3 other small items I'd like to cover with you while we're here also. But just so you know, I dropped off one of your meetings, our initial plans, blueprint plans for replacement. Our goal still is the fire station and a community center and try to do something better for the community. I'd say reality has slapped me in the face and know that we had no way we could ever afford $4 million. So we went back, the board and myself, and, we went to basically a 2-phase system. Phase 1, get the firehouse taken care of, get that in place, get it operational, and then gradually work on that in the community center and trying to better the community and having a place for other functions and things for people to do and things like that. So architect has a new set of plans up. I brought you a copy for them. Definitely drops us down. He thinks that we can be $1 million or under. My biggest question is, learning process. So in our last meeting, we talked about the Okra grant ordeal. I've tried to do a little research. I'm very confused. So maybe somebody could eventually help me out and educate me more on what restrictions comes with that Okra grant. Where do we, are we into a government federal thing to where you use union contractors and different things in places and
Can
parts?
be, yes.
So I guess I'm real curious on what all the restrictions are with that grant and where our leeway is.
I don't have them memorized certainly, but there is a regional representative for Okra for Eastern Indiana. And so that's probably the place to start, is to schedule a meeting with him. He'll come over and talk to you about your project, what you have in mind, what's the potential, and there are limitations on how much money you can apply for. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's $600,000 or $700,000.
I think our first meeting, in my mind, I keep getting that 500,000 over to where
Could
we
be
were
as
at.
low as 500. For what you're talking about, they have different different thresholds for different kinds of projects, whether it's water or sewer or a public building or those kind of things. So it is possible. I have no problem with giving you one of the county's grant slots with Okra if you can demonstrate that there's a reasonable possibility that if you get the grant, you'll have enough money to pay for the building that you're proposing. And up to this point, you haven't been able to demonstrate that. When you were talking about a $3 or $4 or $5 million building and only a $500,000 or $600,000 grant possibility, and where's the rest of the money coming from? So, again, these guys may feel differently, but Okra changed their the allocation of grant opportunities. So we used to have 3 spots. We now have 4. And so to give you one of those grant opportunities, I don't think is a particular hardship on the county. But, is there a possibility that you can actually put the financing in place that would allow you to do the project? That's a significant
Financial
step.
consultant that we've hired, the township's hired, I think we have that in place. We have a couple other items. I got another meeting today with somebody else. I'm feeling very comfortable with that.
Okay.
What kind of time frames or when does the Okra grant stuff start, blah, blah, blah? I mean,
It varies from year to year, and I used to keep very much in tune with that when I was the director of the Regional Planning Commission, but we can check. It'll be on their website. So
is it possible to email me the contact to
Sure.
have a meeting with them?
Absolutely.
So I can keep moving forward
Absolutely.
in that direction?
how do you feel about going ahead and committing to them a slot so that they can apply? Remember that these slots are allocated to counties and cities and towns, but not to townships. So that's why they would
That's why
need to
I added
have
to-
one of ours.
I have no problem with them,
apply.
especially if the number now has went from 4 to 5 million back down to $1 million or less.
Right.
It sounds like it's more feasible now to get this.
It is, and even phase 2, it's not a waste of money. The first set of prints I gave you, I brought you the second set. It's still feasible. I've had 3 multiple meetings with FEMA. I have nothing in writing, but I have verbal agreements twice that they'll pay for all the concrete for the tornado shelter. This whole ordeal is, it's larger than just let's build a firehouse.
Sure. Understood.
We know the tornado alleys here. We have half the residents in the township do not have basements. There's not tornado shelters anywhere close by. Even the design for the firehouse, we've been in conversations with the sheriff's department for like a substation for his officers to have a place to be, things like that, stop in the middle of the night when things are closed out in the country. We've had meetings with Reed about possibilities of, stationing an ambulance there because of what's going on. They got 2 more years in Union County, don't know what's happening there next. There's future stuff in the thoughts or plans of how can we better the community? How can we make it a more multi-facility, not just the purpose of, hey, we need a firehouse.
Sure.
So that stuff's still all in the plan. The new design is steps towards that. It takes care of the Reed thing, stuff like that. May not take care of the sheriff initially, but it may possibly. We still have an office there that could be utilized. So we still may get 2 or 3 of our steps processed in the moving forward. My next hurdle that I'm jumping would be the 70,000 for the blueprints. I need the blueprints so I can get the pricing off of Morton and other items and have an exact price. I got an architect that's drawn stuff up and he's saying, I think you'll be at $1 million or less. He goes, you could be around 700. That's a big difference to me,
Sure.
So that's kind of like my next hurdle to jump across is finding, I got 90 grand or whatever in the bank, but I don't want to clear out the bank account for a set of blueprints. That's not good feasibility of money for me and, you know, stewardship in my eyes. So I definitely leave you these. I think we'll have some more conversations and stuff about it. And I think we're ahead with the letter coming. Hopefully I've gave you more comfortability of the position that we've all been put in. And we got a light at the end of the tunnel that's not a freight train, so.
Okay. Steve, any words of wisdom that you could share? I remember, and this is why I'm thinking this, when Mike Sharp was talking about adding a building at the highway department, there was discussion about, well, we could get this company or that company or this construction crew to put together a building inexpensively, but the challenge is it has to meet building code, and this will be a commercial building, right?
And I think Oka will require that anyway, so.
I expect so too, so.
The architect that they hire should know that
think.
the design.
Oh, yeah, he's already told me that. I mean, there's a lot of things into this. It ain't just we're building a pole barn.
Exactly.
It's a fire station.
not a
There's
farm building,
certain
it's a-
things that we have to have.
Okay.
You know, we figured into the plans, all of our, you know, our gear sanitation, things like that. There's a lot of processes in a firehouse. I don't know if anybody's ever been through building one before, but it is not just like, let's go put a pole barn up.
And I think we talked about it, but this will require a septic system, so.
Yes, that's probably, after the drawings, that's probably the second hurdle is meeting with the health department. You know, I've kind of already told Steve, I don't understand. I do understand the health department says when we have to wipe out all the trees, things like that in the back area, we have way enough property. We have a large amount of property. So we have enough for a possibility in my head that I still think there needs to be a retaining pond. You know, once you put in all that blacktop, you can't flood. We had to have everything done already with the water, you know, floodplain.
Floodplain issue.
So we had to have all that. I've already paid all that, got all them certificates fixed because the first of the year, they moved the floodplain up into the middle of our property, which changed everything again. So we've already paid that, got all the certificates, got everything cleared through them. We've had all the soil samples done and compaction testing, everything for the land and property. So, I mean, we've got a lot of money invested already in this project. And
Well, as we go through this process with you, I believe there is some property in that area that the county still owns, so that this may be the time as we're working through the project to think about whether the county should transfer any of that property to you. There's some area, and
Well, the commons, but then in this place that you're looking at, the county had purchased a pretty wide right-of-way when that Abington Bridge was put in.
right,
And I think the county actually owns in front of the parcel that you're talking about, so.
oh, where our well is?
Yeah, so to access that, we'll have to make some sort of.
so we'll work with you on that and see, you know, if
Yeah,
there's
you'll
anything.
see in the new plans, there's even, and that's my hurdles of taking the things on. There's a large amount of roads that aren't abandoned in that village, you know, and they need to be done. I mean, people are using them for driveways, the county's not maintaining them, things like that. And two of them are part of this drawing.
Okay,
You know, even though they're still there, I got all the maps, I got everything else of where the roads are in town, but they're not utilized,
so
but
they
they are
may
part
need
of
to
the
be
drawing.
vacated.
Yeah, over the years, we have reacted to when folks have made requests to vacate. These are alleys or roads that were plotted back when Abington was first plotted, back in the 1800s.
Okay.
And they're still there. Some of them have been vacated, but what he's referring to, there are some in this area.
So let's, take this opportunity as your project moves forward to take a look at all those issues and see
Okay.
what's gonna work best.
I greatly appreciate that. One of the other items, this last weekend, we had another serious accident at 27 in Potter Shop. I know a letter from the coroner's office has been sent to you guys. I think it'd be pretty easy to get letters from Abington Fire, Boston Fire, Reed Ambulance, the sheriff.
But the sheriff is looking at that
The
whole
sheriff's
issue,
already
Steve,
looked at
and,
that.
and investigating, you know, how many accidents have there been and all of the data that we need to look at to make some kind of determination. So,
I bothered to look up, and I've talked to a lot of people. I tried this last year with the county engineer over the wrecks we had there last year, and I had a meeting with him about it. You know, it's about $1,250 for each one of the LED lighted flashing stop signs. So 4 of them is about $5,000. You know, and it's in the neighborhood of what's the next life worth. Since Christmas alone, the 2 worst accidents there, and within 30 days, it both came from the Boston side, you know, heading westbound, and they just flat don't stop. And it's, no matter how many stop signs we put up. I know after the meeting with them last year, we went from 1 stop sign to 2. They cleared some trees out down the side. I mean, they done a lot to try to make people. We got stupid people in this world. They're not going to learn. But what can we do next? You know, I think the flashing stop sign ordeal is a very cheap fix. They're solar paneled. We don't have to really mess with them, hopefully. I think something flashing in people's eyes is going to help. So it's kind of like what we'd like to ask for is.
we're looking at it, Steve.
Yeah, it's,
NDOT needs to be involved. We're gonna get a report from the sheriff on what the accident history is there. So we're aware, and I will tell you that this week is the first time I've ever heard of this. In my 4 years as commissioner, I never heard that intersection was a problem.
Oh, my God.
I've been,
In your
been
lifetime?
on 28 years and it's a
And so,
yearly.
you know, it's not something that has been brought to the commissioner's attention in the last 4 years.
And I think that's kind of like the thing. I mean, I think you guys can see, we've had bad press, we've had all kinds. I mean, you can't bake a cake without breaking a couple eggs. But we are definitely making changes in that town. You know, we've got a great bunch of firemen, a lot of great training, things are going on. We're trying to serve the public a lot better than it's been served in the past year. So, the other 2 small items I had was questions. I take it all of you have heard or dealt with House Bill 1233.
Heard of it, haven't dealt with it yet.
Do you have input, or where do you guys stand on that? Are you guys advocates for it? Are you pushing for it? Do you against it?
Haven't had the opportunity to think it through. You know, something comes up virtually every legislative session about townships, and so this is another one. I'm actually on the County Association's legislative committee, and the feeling there is it's not going anywhere.
It hasn't for the past few years. They've tried every year. This different change in this one that they wrote, get rid of the townships, turn everything over county, but they added getting rid of fire territories and fire districts also in this one, which I think that's a complete automatic shutdown. They couldn't get things passed before. That's going to be even worse.
I expect it will be.
I mean, I got 2.5 weeks, and I got lunch with 2 senators and a congressman, so it's going to be part of my topic and, you know, in the meetings with them. And then we got the legislative selection next month that I'll be 2 days at. So I really just kind of wanted a feeling from my county bosses, you know. I mean, I live in we're all here together.
Yep.
Of where you guys are on it, and you know, when I go into a meeting, I say, oh, my county commissioners ain't big fans of it. You know, I'm not just making something up, you know.
I think that any kind of step like that has a lot of unintended consequences, and I don't see that they have been thought through very clearly. So I'm looking at it and talking to people about their issues. I'm happy to get your feedback, and please keep us posted on.
2 years ago, IVFA gave the legislators a very expensive survey. I don't know if you guys ever got to see that. There's billions of dollars a year that the volunteers save the state of Indiana. Indiana brags on being volunteer state. There is 837, I believe, off the top of my head, volunteer fire departments in the state of Indiana. Almost everybody in the state has started up north. I don't want to give you too long of a history, but a little education. It started up north a couple years ago of going to territories. Districts has a little different ordeal because now you guys are involved in districts compared to territories. So territories are easier to involve. And it takes a neighboring 2 municipalities to do that. It started up north, it went west, it's south. About the past year, it was tagged up. East is just old school, don't want to talk about it. And it's about the only way for fire departments to have any more money. It's the only way to have a fire levy. It's the only way for your taxpayers to say, yes, I want to give you more money. It goes to you. The state don't take their hands into it, do different things.
And
So,
of course, the challenge is that property tax, there's likely to be some significant changes to the property tax structure in this legislature. And how that's going to shake out, nobody knows. If you slice the pie into more pieces, then everybody has a smaller piece, and those are the kind of challenges that come about by these kind of discussions. So unless there's more money to allocate, and that probably is going to depend on this session of the legislature and whether they reduce property taxes and push municipalities to increase income taxes as the alternative, and how will that shake out?
well, I mean, they have to. I mean, just for our history alone, you know, I tried to tell the Board of Accounts that, you know, we went to the Township Department and, you know, I need $80,000 around next year. You know, I always go high. They go, oh, you get 40. Well, I hate to tell you, 40, 20 grand of it's insurance.
Sure.
To dress out a firefighter right now to walk into burning buildings, $12,000. A new truck starts at $1 million. Your gear has to be replaced every 10 years. Your air packs have to replace every 10 years. You know, it's 12 grand every 10 years for each guy that you have. There's no way to operate. And yeah, I got them meetings because there's got to be more money somewhere. And it's state level. I'm not coming to you guys. I'm going to legislators, and they got to figure out how to get all the volunteers, not just us. It's all in the state.
Absolutely.
Because there's no way in the study, and I probably can pull that out of my file and get you guys a copy of it. It's very educational. There's no way in the study the state could ever go full-time departments all the way across. Can't even go districts with you guys handling it. You'll never have a budget to afford fire protection.
Well, and so the question is, can we continue to operate the way we are operating?
No.
You know, is there enough money there? So how do you, I think this legislation is somebody's idea that it will save money. It'll cost less in the long run. I certainly am not sure that that's the case. So how do we get to a viable solution for everybody and enough money to make it work?
I mean, that's the problem, and I'm talking to people in Indianapolis. There's only X amount of dollars that they have, and they're trying to slice it all up.
Exactly.
And they're gonna.
They wanna
and it looks
brag
like they're
about
gonna cut that pie even less now. They're cutting that money pool.
They're going to cut.
So
Probably got the
it's
same
gonna be
mean-
very interesting this year at the
Sorry.
legislation, so.
I got the same email I got that they brag about sticking $2.5 billion in reserves. Okay, I agree about the pie. I understand how government works, but don't skimp and have terrible roads and shitty fire service or police protection and then brag about sticking $2.5 million in reserve. You know, that's the tough part, but that's me hollering at Congress, not you.
Well, we will be talking to our legislators and you know, keep us in the loop on what you're finding.
if you're interested in that study, I'll dig a copy out. I know it went to them. I don't think it went to county level, so
Recall seeing it.
I saw it.
I'll get you copies of
Okay.
it.
Thanks,
If not, I'll get it out of the IVFA. Last question I got is, are you capable of giving me an update on the 800 system?
On the new radio system,
Yep.
we're working on it. The radios have been ordered. The towers are in the works. So
It's
the
moving forward.
expectation is it'll be in place by the end of this year. You've been working with our consultant on the conversations
the
about
word on the street-
radios and
The word on the street is the three chiefs that are supposed to be on the committee with everything going on has been pretty much told nothing and locked out. So that's why I'm asking.
that's
news to
not the
us.
case as far as I know, so we'll investigate that. And
When we ask them questions, that's what we get told.
I don't know.
And it's not
who
to,
the chiefs are.
go rat on anybody, do anything else. It's your information. You guys are in charge of something and
We're making progress. We're making progress.
that's good
And it should be all in place by the end of this year.
by the end of this year. Okay. That's all I have, gentlemen.
Radios are ordered. I want to say the
Yeah,
number
they-
is,
Place out of
there's
Indianapolis.
pagers and radios, and I
Yep.
sometimes get the numbers confused.
I
There's
don't.
275 pagers, I think, and I forget the number on the radios, but it's supposed to have been based on input from all of the fire departments that in the county.
By whatever numbers that you guys had sent to them.
Yeah.
So,
Pagers got ordered local and radios ordered out of Indianapolis.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
That's about all. It's good information.
All right. Thanks for coming in. Nice
sir.
to meet you.
thank you for all you guys do. Seriously, appreciate
Keep us
you
in the
guys.
loop.
Jeff, do you know what, off the top of your head, do you know what committee that bill's been
You want me to leave us with Steve or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I'll be gone.
I'm sorry.
You know what committee 1233 has been assigned to? I don't know.
Not.
I've gotten a lot of calls on it the last few days.
Is your phone ringing off the hook?
If we have Hook City though, we don't have Hook.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bill to eliminate.
Thank you.
Joint school corporations with another
Really?
Wonder what Union County and College Corner are gonna be doing about that, unless they thought they didn't have any. I mean,
Well, and, Nettle Creek goes into Henry County.
Yes.
it's not a joint school district. It only has one governing body. There's
Union
actually,
County has it.
Right.
Union County does College Corner. They
Oh,
have-
because it's in Ohio.
And, because it's in Ohio, there is I think I'd have to look at the plan. We amended it, but I think the precinct that's in Henry County is combined with areas in Wayne County now with the rep on the board. So I just
Yeah.
curious.
Okay. Well, you're up next, so what have you got?
I really don't have a whole lot. Here is, you'd ask for a more detailed timeline, but we're kind of in areas where all we can go by is the statute, so I have no idea what kind of interaction we're gonna get with the commissioner's office once this gets on their desk, but you'll see that's kind of.
IDEM commissioner?
See where we are. First step has been taken, the two resolutions have been passed by the Wayne County Commissioners and delivered to the Union County Commissioners. The effective date of the dissolution would be the 12/31/24. Under the statute, Wayne County has 90 days within which to prepare an analysis of the legal obligations, and in that implicit, I think, is an analysis of the assets of the district.
Right.
Try to work out an agreement with Union County as to the allocation of those liabilities and the division of those assets. When that has to happen is unstated. So it's just a matter of getting it done. Once it's done, then you've got 45 days within completion of the agreement to have public hearings by both county executive bodies as well as the WUR board. Those meetings could conceivably be combined into a three-way, if you will, meeting with all entities, or they can be individual, or they can be any two of the three. And somewhere in this process, we probably need then to go to the point of then preparing the resolution that would determine that Wayne County will not be either a member of another multi-county solid waste management district or a standalone county solid waste management district. And in that process, probably expand upon the plan that we would in effect create at the time we divide assets, liabilities, and talk about how services will be provided to Wayne County and to Union County, that the latter part being more of a function of the Union County commissioners to determine than us, but there will be the asset division. And I also think in that process, we have, although it obviously doesn't arise from statute, it does arise from our desire to stay very active, if not more active in the recycling process and engage in Richmond Sanitary District in whatever arrangement they wish to have with us going forward. The tipping fee issue, I think, goes away if we're not going to really be active in doing our own work. I think they can, if they want to, if we can enter into interlocal agreements with the Richmond Sanitary District to provide us the services that we think we need to provide, subject to our funding to the extent that we have excess assets received from WUR after payment of any liabilities, then they can set their own budget. If they need more money, they need more money. I don't know that we need to keep that in place. I think that needs to be talked about probably more with Pat and his people.
Right, because Pat's suggestion was that the county could put in place the tipping fee, but that could come back to
Sanitation.
sanitary district
But
contractually.
the tipping fee is in place, frankly. And, I don't understand, I need to know what his,
I think it was put in place by WUR, and
Well,
it would have to be.
I think WR may have asked that it be put in place, but
See, and that's not the way Pat described it to me.
I'd like to see their documents, I guess, is, because,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I'd like to see what their,
Because the way he described it to me, they cannot impose their own tipping fee. I suppose they can increase the fee, general fee.
that's what the general fee charged for,
And
at
in
the
lieu
landfill.
of a tipping fee, and that money could go towards that. But I think that the intention probably is, if we want to expand recycling throughout the whole county, that board wants the commissioners to have skin in the game, if you will, by making that decision that we're going to increase fees.
and that, because that's the obvious, I won't say downside, but that's the obvious implication that if WR is dissolved and yet there has to be authority given by some entity, which Pat is saying is the county, and I would tend to agree with him when I read the statute, if there is such a need for that authority, and I guess it's the practicality of if they think there's a need, then there's a need, because they're the ones that, in effect, collect and distribute the fee. So whatever we have to do there is fine. But you'll see this is pretty, general, and the only immediate deadline we're facing is March 31. And I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a review of the checking account. Who are the authorized signatories on the account? Is that functional? I don't know that you need regular meetings of the board. The board could probably adopt a resolution. If you look at it, you'll probably see expenditures that are pretty generally repetitive and consistent. So an authorization to allow president or whomever to issue those checks and payment of those drafts, subject to being reviewed or reported back to the full board, whoever that is,
At a future board meeting.
at a future
So-
board meeting, you know, and then meet, if you need to, meet quarterly or,
Okay, so we may only have to meet a couple more times based on this timeline. And the board could allow the president or the vice president or the,
I mean, I don't know, I've never represented the board, and so, but I'm assuming if they don't have bylaws, they can at least create procedures by action taken at a public board meeting,
Okay.
authorizing it, similar to what the resolutions we have that allow the auditor to pay certain bills in advance of claim being approved by the commissioners, you know. That's a statutory thing,
okay. Can you be the, the attorney for WU?
well, I plan on being there at 5:15 tonight if that
Okay,
tells you
good.
anything.
Good.
I mean, I think, you know, we're right now trying to
So, yeah, we need
find
to
somebody to
work
wear the
through.
black mask to make sure that it
So-
stays in the grade.
So should we go ahead as the county and appoint I'll call it a recycling committee for
Well, I
lack of a
think
better
I
term.
would call it a transition committee, and then you can
Okay.
charge the committee with among several things. One, certainly keeping the communication open and as positive as you and Commissioner Williams in Union County have been able to do so far. I understand that something like this probably never has 100% support, but I think by and large, there's a level of common understanding of what everybody's about. There's no hidden agendas that I hope that they think we have. But I think,
Right.
you know, my concerns, I think I shared with you when you really start peeling this onion a little bit. There are a lot of things that should have probably been done by the WR board statutorily
That haven't been done
that I'm
for.
fairly confident haven't been done. Otherwise, you'd have a whole file of state reports and, you know. That being said, I assume they're still audited periodically by the State Board of Accounts, so.
I assume so.
Yeah,
Well, we
assume too,
we
so.
submit budgets to
Yeah.
DLGF, so
Absolutely.
somewhere that gets across the hall to the State Board of
And
Accounts.
our budget for 2025 was approved, and so we got
So
both Wayne and Union.
I think the
funds.
key, and I think Jeff's kind of prodding me to at least focus on this and try to reduce it to something that's tangible we all can look at as a good, because I think the fear we have is it's just gonna kind of meander. I think you do
Been
need a
doing for 20
transition.
years.
That's what, we just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you need a transition committee that can deal with that, as well as make the board understanding, WR board,
Right.
that it is not eliminated and they can take it off, wipe it off their resume. They still have obligations to do, to lawfully wind down the organization.
Okay, great.
And
Um,
I'll be there tonight if that needs to be
Okay.
repeated.
Anything else? Barry,
The two leases on the radio tower
Towers.
projects, I have reviewed those. I had some comments. I'll get Barry a letter. Probably be the weekend because I did not get anything done. next
Okay.
weekend.
if we can let him know today what's coming.
Well, I mean, there's just little things. I don't think the law of the state of Ohio should govern the lease of Indiana property, but
Right.
truth of the matter is, if it did, it would probably say that you apply Indiana law. But that's a few little things, nothing major, and then
Okay,
factoring in the numbers for the lease, you know,
Good.
right now those are blank, but I think there's been some follow-up.
do you recall, Ron, where we're at in the process of transferring that 1 acre of ground in the Gateway Industrial Park to
Done.
Cambridge City? So it's been transferred to them? Okay,
In
so,
fact, the only problem when we started, I got with Nancy in the plat room, and she said, well, no one's presented the deed for recording, and turned out I given Bob an original, and I kept an original. So I basically went ahead and just got ours recorded,
okay,
and Bob was fine with that, and I, Bob Beaver, who
okay,
represents
who represents Cambridge?
Cambridge City, and I gave him a copy of the recorded deed,
Okay,
came back last week.
Great.
So they have it, they know they have it.
awesome.
The one other thing too, I think you have, well, if you want to wait, but the appointment of members to the Planning Commission and BZA,
Okay,
I'm not sure if you're aware, Steve, you're probably aware, Laura's been working to try to fill that dual position, and she's got, I think, a very viable solution that would be voted on this Thursday, tomorrow.
Yeah, the Plan Commission's gonna address it to make their.
Plan Commission's gonna address it tomorrow, having one of their members assume the position of the BZA, and that would be Danny Phelps, who's agreed that he would do that. I would expect that'll go through. So we'll see where we are, and then, of course, Steve would, I don't know how long he's gonna stay around as an alternate after that, that's a question, I guess, I don't know.
okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Mr. Higginbotham.
Okay, you have your weekly sheet in front of you for the projects. A couple of changes from updates from last week. Nothing new on the generator. The X-ray and screening equipment for the courthouse, I did receive a date of approximately January 31st for that delivery. That's a little bit sooner than what they had initially told us. The Coleman Center ceiling and lighting, everything is finished. They're waiting on some additional panels for the lobby. The lighting is in. The ceiling tiles are not. And then those two little entry doors, you know, those little ceilings with lights in the doors, and that's the only thing that remains on that. The IT cabling project, Craig indicates that they'll anticipate being finished at the courthouse this week, and then they'll move to the annex starting next week. And then the Prox card lock system, did have indicated that the equipment has been ordered. They've not got a start date yet, but certainly no obstacles on that. And then on the courthouse elevator, even though that's not on here, in anticipating putting that removal of the that flue as a separate bid, LWC has done another look at that to be able to make sure they formulate the bid specs accordingly with respect to how that might be removed and whether or not if there's a part of that shaft top that needs to be removed to pull that out. Remember, that was not tested for asbestos because at the initial time, it wasn't part of the process. So they were here yesterday to pull some material from that area too. So we should have that report in the next week or two.
Okay. So we're moving forward with that, and that's,
And then down the lower right-hand corner, just take note, I'll tell this to council tonight, but the council one-time balance is about $4.3 million. That is over $1 million than what it was a couple of weeks ago. I think that may be where they parked that money for the ARPA money that you transferred into the general fund.
Bobby, did you do another report since we looked at that after this morning on the council budget?
No. He's taken that number off of a different report.
Okay,
It's not the same one.
okay, well, let's,
This is, you mean me? This is
Right.
from Lau.
Yeah, that's the actual cash balance.
That's the actual cash balance according to Lau, so that seems
cash balance of what?
of,
Of that
Of the
particular
one-time
line
fund.
item?
Yep.
Okay,
but I don't
mean,
think
it's-
it's an appropriated number,
well,
because
we'll need to check with the auditor's office, so.
original,
If you recall, and I think you were out when this happened, Simona, but we moved $1.3 million approximately from the ARPA fund. We repaid ourselves for expenses out of the general fund. We actually did that in 2024, so it really shouldn't appear in the 2025 budget.
I would agree with that. It would seem to me like it should be in the general fund unappropriated amount.
Correct. So if we can, after the meeting's over, look at the budget for council, and in particular, their one-time line item. Do you have the line number?
Bobby has it.
Okay, so we'll get with you, Simona, and double check that. Good deflection.
I know,
Like
well,
that.
I always ask her for the number, so I know she's got the number.
You're really adept at that. While you're on this report, you were talking about projects at the fairgrounds, and this morning at the ops board, the Richmond Fire Chief, Jeff Kinder, asked if it might be possible. They have moved their aerial truck to, is it Station 5 on the west side, out by Help?
I believe so.
I think it's Station 5. And once a week, they test all of their trucks to make sure they're working. And that aerial truck has to be set up and extended, and, you know, it has big outriggers on it to keep it from tipping over. And he says there's not enough room at that fire station. And so he asked if it would be possible to take it to the fairgrounds. They're pretty close, a couple miles from the fairgrounds. To set it up, it would take about 20 or 30 minutes to test the truck. And I told him, you know, we'll need to look into it, but I don't see why it would be an issue, except on days like during the fair or something, it potentially would be
Yeah, as long as they
a problem.
schedule with the fair people out there.
Exactly, so
Haley
they
and
know what
Brad.
days they're coming,
Yeah.
what time
We have
approximately.
a fair committee next week, so or fairgrounds committee next week, so we can
Okay.
talk it there.
If you can take that, I asked him to send me an email with all the particulars, and I'll pass that on to you and check with the fair committee and see what recommendation, but he said it'd take about 30 minutes, and
And do they have to hook up to a hydrant then?
no, he said they have internal water
Okay,
that
I was
they
gonna
can
say,
use to
'cause
test.
we have hydrants there
There
at
are
the,
hydrants out there.
And there's hydrants across the road.
and I'm sure, do they come out and check those? That's Richmond?
The one on our site are ours, but there's a lot there. The city of Richmond has some along the road, and they do check those.
Okay,
along
but we check
Salisbury.
ours then periodically then according to,
Okay. So let's get them a response, but I don't see
see a
why it
problem
would
with
be an issue, as long as on the days when the fairgrounds is completely booked, they would need to do it on a different day.
Yeah, I could see events like, you know, the coon hunters.
yeah, there's certain
Orange
events.
Fair.
Exactly, but there's just a handful that I think.
And I would assume to put those outriggers, they would need some solid base.
We just don't, we wanna make
He
sure
said
it doesn't tear up the asphalt. or-
Right, and I think we need to talk to him about, you know, if you break it, you buy it kind of thing, but, he said that, the asphalt there was, forget the depth, he said, but it was set up for heavy equipment. I don't know if that's true, but, I don't know that it's not either, so.
Yeah.
Just let's take a look at those issues. He also said he could do it on a substantial gravel base, so
Right.
there may
Across
be
the
other
street.
spots. Well, and that's what I was thinking was if we're gonna put some gravel on the other side, maybe that would be an easier place that would only be.
And there's no power lines, anything, I mean, there's no obstructions there that would have.
Right, so
They
anyway,
could about use that anytime.
Yeah, unless during the fair when there's parks.
except again, yeah, and I think the coon hunters use that area too, but anyway, let's look into it. I'll get you whatever additional information he sends me, and you guys can
Okay.
discuss it, and we'll get back with them. Okay.
I have a couple questions if,
Sure. Go
on
ahead.
this sheet, if you're ready
Go
for
ahead.
those. Generator. I don't know where we are as far as, but the mobile command unit, we just got an update, from Aaron and Ops Board. It will most likely be up and running, the new one, by the end of the week.
Okay.
So whenever at that point, I mean, the old one's still operational from what I understand, but
We'll be able to transition into the new one without much downtime.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's still
Without
gonna
any
be some.
downtime, the way I understood it.
What's that?
Without any downtime for the old.
No, there
the
is
old
no,
one would still
there
be
is no
operational.
downtime. The only thing that you will have to work with, from what I understand with the sheriff, is that they're gonna be having it painted or wrapped. And there'll be downtime then when that's going on, and from the wrapping, from what I understand, that's 10 days.
Okay.
So there have to be some communication there when we're doing that, and I know we still don't know.
And let's talk to him and just ask him to hold off on that until we.
Unless it's gonna be, we don't know where the when it's gonna
Right.
be.
Let's try to find out.
And then, what other question do I have? The X-ray, are we planning on setting that up then when it's delivered, even though we're gonna be doing construction and they're gonna be moving it again?
No, we'll set in my mind, we're setting the new one up where the old one is. So,
And leave it
yes.
and not change
And then
that?
And then the
And then
old
use the old one down,
move
okay,
down
that's,
to the-
I was gonna say, it just didn't
south.
make much sense to me to set it up and then we had
No.
to.
That's how I had it in my
Yeah,
mind.
that's what
And
I've
I'm
been
glad, that's
thinking.
why I was asking.
That makes total sense.
Remove the old one, you know,
And the new one stays, and that way we're not tearing it up by moving
Exactly.
it multiple times.
exactly.
Okay, that's all I need.
And so, you know, if there's any thought that we need to rearrange that entry hall in any way, that's the time to do it when they're setting up the new equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If it
Yeah, of course.
needs to move a foot to the left or whatever, you know, and I don't know whether that question's ever been asked, but the
I
sheriff
think
is
it's
here
gonna
now.
be part of the discussion next week at our security meeting.
And that's set up for next Wednesday at noon, right?
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Missy over at the courthouse yesterday, and she's gonna get me a list of concerns and discuss about that, so
Yeah.
that we can talk about that in the security
So,
meeting.
you know, we'll take care of trying to address any of those issues all
Yeah.
at once and take care of them when we're setting up the new equipment.
And then back to your
Did you have
report,
other
Well,
questions?
that's it.
Okay, thank you.
back to your report there on the lower right-hand corner, just to note that the fairground naming rights balance, you notice that has increased. We did receive our 2024 payment from First Bank for those rights. So that balance is what you see there. Remember, we have about 17,000 set aside for contingency. I don't anticipate there'll be maybe a little bit come out of that simply because in the original plan, we didn't plan for new lights in those little foyers. So there'll be a couple of lights come out of that.
When you say the little foyers, you're talking about the airlock?
The airlock,
Between,
yeah,
okay.
the airlock
But
between
at
the
the
lobby and the
outside.
outside, yeah. And so currently then, you know, we do have that 17,000 committed, but I anticipate the vast majority of that will be uncommitted once that project is finished.
Okay.
And that's all I have on the projects. I did put in front of you then, and just give me some guidance on how you wanna approach this. Recall that you requested in council
It's
funded.
okay if you need that, you can get up and pick it up,
I'll get it later.
okay?
Recall that council did approve the funding of 3 positions, the creation of a department head for building and grounds, and then the creation of a department head for planning and zoning in the building commission, and then something with my position as well. So I put in front of you the 3 job descriptions. The first one is the superintendent for the Department of Building and Grounds. I made a couple of changes in this based upon previous conversations, and those are in red. And then the strike-throughs are what would be removed. The second one is the Director of Development, which is what my position was several years ago over planning, zoning, and building commission. I know that you talked about adding a few duties to that position, so take a look at that. And then the third one is, and again, I just put county administrator on simply because that is what is in statute. There have been discussions about another title, whether or not I maintain the chief minion title, I'm not sure.
I kind of like that title.
I really do like it, but the yellow suit, I think, is the important part of that.
So, give me some guidance, so if you want me to put my thoughts to these, or this is a starting point.
Why don't we take some time and put our thoughts to these, and then we'll
That's what I was kind of thinking.
together with
so.
you to have some further discussion.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
that's all I have.
All right. Any other questions for Steve?
Nope.
Did you get a shot of him picking that paper up? Okay, thank you. We're very neat around here. The certificate of appointment that is mentioned here, just to clarify, I think Ron saw that as something having to do with the BZA or the Plan Commission, but it's actually a certificate of appointment for me as the Wayne County Commissioners representative on the board of the Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. So with your approval, I will sign the paperwork to appoint myself as our representative. Any concern, comment?
None. Do you need a motion to that effect? I'll
Please.
make a motion that you are appointed to that position and authorized to sign yourself.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Sheriff, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you for seeing me this morning. I've got a really quick item. This is a contract for Reed Health to provide healthcare services to low-income individuals. If you don't mind, I'll pass out some of these.
This is low-income individuals in the jail?
Correct.
Okay.
Here is a copy of the new contract proposed to be signed, and then this is the copies of the contract that was signed in 2019. I'll try not to drop any of those. But encourage you not to.
But if you do drop one, please feel free to pick it up.
Pick it up, yes, on or off camera. As you recall, last year, the Indiana State Legislature changed the law regarding the contracts, and so the commissioners then would have the opportunity to review any contracts that would be in force for inner workings of any office within the county that utilize taxpayer dollars. Well, this probably does not technically qualify for that because they're providing a service for low-income individuals. I still wanted to provide that to you for your review and get your input on whether or not you agree and to proceed forward. There is some language in there that talks about providing the service for the citizens, and I think that also falls under your purview as well. So.
Well, thank you for sharing. We've always had a very good working relationship between the commissioners and the sheriff, and
Absolutely.
appreciate you working to continue that. So I wasn't aware that we had an agreement with Reed on treating low-income individuals. So, Ron, is this something that you have seen before?
Well, this one isn't, but the one in 19 probably is, but I don't remember much about it. But I'll take a look at it. It looks like a lot of it is inuring to the benefit of Reed and its certification showing that it does in fact serve
Right, it allows them
populations,
to,
not necessarily low-income incarcerated population.
Right.
And it allows them to, by this certification, allows them to participate in the
340.
340B program.
which is very important.
Great,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, very much.
okay. Is there a timeline on this? Is the clock ticking? We need to do it quickly, or?
I don't know that there was an expiration on the one in 19. It may hinge on that. I don't recall right off without going through there to see if there was an actual termination date, expiration. Give me just a second, I can look.
No, it basically, it appears as if it's kind of a contract at will, at least on the second page. It says, "The term of this agreement shall commence on the effective date, which was the 5th day of September 2019, and until terminated by either party upon not less than 60 days prior written notice to the other." So I
Okay,
think we have time to look at it.
so if you're comfortable with it, Randy, we'll just ask Ron to review it, and
It looks very similar to the other one, so
Yeah, I think it's almost identical.
you think that's something you can review and we could act on it tonight if you don't have any issues? Okay, at the workshop? Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, great. We were just discussing before you came in, I think, the issue of the new mobile command center
Yes.
and having that operational so that when we switch over to the new generator, that 911 can be located in that. Does that, do you have a particular timeline for getting that vehicle painted or whatever you're gonna do to it? Or is that something we could put off until after that transition?
Yeah, technically, it should be operational, assuming everything goes as planned. It should be functional and operational. I would hope by
Friday,
the
I
middle of
think.
next week.
Didn't they say Friday?
Aaron said Friday, but
Yeah, well, I gave a couple of days of cushion.
Just in case, just in case you drop something.
Yeah, right. In terms of getting it painted or updating the exterior, that's still, we haven't came to an agreement with any particular vendor on that. We're still looking at that.
So would it be possible for you to hold off on that until, we'll get a date, hopefully narrow down the timeframe on
hopefully it's not
when,
May or.
when the generator transition is gonna take place, but,
26.
so anyway,
Yeah.
if you're flexible, just to make sure that it's not been sent away to get painted or something when we need to do that transition, or when we can do it, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's my goal to make sure that we have an operational mobile command unit at all times. So,
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. But expected nothing less from you, cooperation. We have heard throughout our meetings today already about the accident on 27 South over the weekend, and our condolences to those involved. Certainly, it's a tragedy, but Brad was relaying to us that you and your staff are looking at the history of that
yes.
intersection and putting together a report on what kind of accidents have been there in the past. And
Yeah, that's correct. We're actually reaching out to a number of sources, not only gleaning from our records, but all the records from those in the healthcare field and other emergency responders that may be responsible for taking care of any issues that occur there. And we're going a step further, not just gonna, we don't plan to just give you raw statistics, but actually show you what the true picture is, of the dangers of that intersection. And my request would be to use that knowledge to decide what we can do best for our citizens in terms of being able to either put signage or some kind of other warnings up there to help prevent some of these needless accidents.
Which we have done in the past at other locations, and I certainly support that.
Sure.
I think, have you reached out to anybody at NDOT or?
Yeah,
It's, the three of the four crossroads there are controlled by NDOT, right?
That's right. Yeah, I've actually reached out to both Jeff Rotz and Brad Barrett to discuss with them, the possibility of getting NDOT involved in that. And specifically speaking with Jeff Rotz, he said that he would make contact with NDOT and get them started on the research that they need to do before their engineers can make a determination of what's needed.
So I think they keep detailed records of accidents on
Yes.
state roads, so.
Is Old 122 still theoretically a state controlled highway?
I believe
I
so.
think so, yeah.
So it's Potter, we just have Potter Shop.
Yeah.
Correct.
Initially, I will say that it appears just in the research of the last 5 years, we've only had one traffic fatality there, which unfortunately was the last crash that we had there. But we've had, and I'm going by memory and that's dangerous, but I think it's 35 crashes there in the last 5 years.
Wow.
That's quite a bit.
I mean, it seems to me like a pretty straightforward intersection with stop signs.
I think it is going north-south. I think the problem is east-west.
Yeah, and that's correct. Typically what we find, the majority of the accidents are from when people are headed west on 122. And that's a long, straight stretch with no or very little terrain and no other signage or very little signage. And there is a stop ahead sign posted there, but whether it's the lull of the long, hard drive or other factors, I'm not sure. People seem to forget about the stop sign.
And just for the record here, me and the sheriff had a conversation about this Sunday morning
Yes.
after the accident, that he had already been looking at that intersection before, so this is not something that's new. It just, with the fatality, unfortunately brought it back to the forefront that,
All
Well,
right,
this time of year, it's not as big a deal, but, in the summer months, if you're westbound and it's a bright day, that sun, depending on the time of day, can be a visual problem.
Very true.
Now,
Very true.
right now, it's farther south, but I drive it quite regularly.
well, please keep us posted. I know you will.
Absolutely.
And we'll do what we can to try to make that a safer intersection.
absolutely.
I appreciate that partnership and input.
All right, thanks a
Thanks,
lot,
sir.
Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Okay. Aaron, do you have some claims?
I do have claims. First of all, I have meeting minutes from the commissioners' meeting on January 8th, 2025 to approve. I'd like to make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our minutes from January 8th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have claims dated 1/10/25. I believe it is, let's see, general claims dated 1/10/25. I have Indiana American Water claim dated 1/16/2025. I have general claims dated 1/15/2025. And if I'd like to make a motion to approve those, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve those claims. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let me just inform you of of a couple of claims that will be coming in the next few days, but working with the Economic Development Corporation on the blight elimination program that is being funded half by Consolidated Edit and half by Wayne County Edit. The request from the EDC is that we move money from both funds to the EDC so that they can administer blight elimination program. They're asking to start with $100,000 from each of those two funds. There's actually a total of $390,000 from each of those funds that's allocated to blight elimination. So I guess first my question is to Ron. Should we have a
Yeah.
memorandum of understanding
Yeah, I know.
in place?
I get that.
Okay. And so that would be for $390,000 from Consolidated Edit,
And 3 from
and
county.
$390,000 from Wayne County Edit to be administered by the EDC for
I had that down.
blight elimination. Okay. So
Because I think they want to open a new account, don't they, for that?
Correct.
And keep that money from being
separately, yeah.
intermingled, which I think is good.
Correct. Okay, so we'll try to get a memorandum of understanding for, can we get that by next week? Okay, so we'll have that ready for next week. Bobby, you have a paper quote?
Yes.
Does Aaron have that? Or-
I have it right here,
I
We
gave
all
you all
have
a
it.
printout of it.
right up there.
There it is, okay, thank you. Okay,
Before the meeting, Bobby gave me these two copies. It's the current paper we use. And then the new paper that's being quoted, it's just, you can see just a hair shade different of
little
the
darker.
paper. So she just wanted us to look at it. She printed us so you could see color on it and how it may affect or not affect it.
looks fine to me.
Yeah.
Feels the same,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, I
And
can't
so-
really tell much of a difference.
That's a natural.
Yes,
And this is, which one are you?
the top quote, the $32.95 a case.
Okay, and that's 20-pound paper, natural white, and it's $32.95, which is pretty significantly below the other costs. And how many cases or reams are
280 cases.
280 cases? And that's the total, $9,226, and we've got that money in the commissioner's budget, right?
Correct.
What do you think? I think.
I say, I'll make a
this
motion
should
that
work.
we approve the purchase of paper through Millcraft for the 20-pound white natural. And how many cases was that again?
280.
282 cases. That is my motion.
280 cases. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for working on that, Bobby. Appreciate it. Do you have anything else?
Yes, Amy has a claim that needs to be paid, about an overpayment for health insurance. She said that she had spoken to you about that.
Correct. And this is for an individual who, while on leave, you need to keep up your payments on health insurance so that, this is unpaid leave. So after you use your sick leave or vacation time, you need to make payments for the health insurance to keep it current. And when she did that, it was an overpayment. So this is to
Reimbursement.
reimburse her.
They charge her the COBRA rate instead of the regular rate?
No, it was a payment that, when she had already come back to work.
I see,
And so
overlap.
it overlapped with her return to work. So it was an overpayment of $124.33. And she wants to do that in the form of a check, because if it's done as part of her paycheck,
She gets FICA and everything taken out of
everything
it.
would be deducted. So this way, she's just reimbursed for that actual amount.
So you need a motion.
I need a motion.
I will make a motion to
And
approve
a
that.
second.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Do we all have to sign that?
Just me.
Okay.
Anything else, Bobby?
I also gave you at the beginning of the meeting, the EDC agreement with Cambridge City that needs to be agreed upon and signed.
Designation of Wayne County as recipient of 1/2 a fractional amount of certified distribution of economic development income tax funds for Cambridge City.
Jeff, I think the county's done a contribution agreement, hasn't it?
We did a contribution agreement. What we have not done
The capital
is the
improvement.
capital improvement plan.
AJ and I were having that conversation
So we need to-
yesterday about that.
We need to
It's
work
a useless act, but I think it's an act that needs to be done.
I agree. And the other thing is, what do we do with those?
Well,
Do we keep them? Do we send them to the state? What?
no, I don't think so. I think that the actual repository for those would be the treasurer's office, because they're not supposed to make distributions
Unless
unless they have a capital improvement on
file.
hand,
Okay.
plan on hand. And I don't, but I talked to Beth before she took office, and I said, I know you don't want to be the heavy to enforce something that's never been enforced.
Right.
We ought to really get it.
So this is
That's kind of the template.
form for the capital improvement plan. And essentially, and this is by statute, isn't it, that they're supposed to,
Even though you can spend the money on any lawful purpose, which was a later amendment to the statute, they not changed that. It requires you identify capital projects that may or may not be funded with it, but
And
you're
it's
saying they're
like-
going to be.
for at least 75% of your
Well,
anticipated
half of it,
distribution.
you're agreeing to donate to the pooled fund, and then you need 25% of your total, don't you, to be accounted for?
You have to fill this out even if you're not providing your money, right?
Right.
To the consolidated. So.
To get your,
In that instance, you have to or tell how you're gonna spend 75% of the money you anticipate receiving. And this needs to be on file with us, I assume.
Yeah, I'll double check the statute, but
So, so I would think for us, we can get the number of how much we received in
we just need,
2024.
the number's really all you need, and then you can come up with a percent of X percent to
And half of that-
infrastructure,
Half of that goes to the consolidated edit fund.
and you've got 25%.
And then we need to allocate 25%. And so, any thoughts, Steve, on how we would allocate that 25%?
I think you would just be as general as you can, because no one, whether
So
you
we
want to call it.
do incentive,
Well, you talk about, infrastructure improvements to economic development areas,
okay,
or incentivizing economic development as opportunity presents itself, that type of thing.
and could we include something about community development projects? Does that qualify as an economic development project? Because we've
There
spent,
is a definition, I'll look and see, but as I recall, it was really, really broad.
because we've
They define economic development projects in the statute, it's not.
spent quite a bit of our money on, for example, the blight elimination that we were just talking about. We've spent $390,000 is allocated for that. So that alone is 25% of what we would get in a year. So more than that. So those kinds of things.
I think what we need from the auditor's office as a starting point is what our certified distribution is going to be for 25.
Okay.
Use that as the basis, and we'll do that
Simona, is that?
We haven't been updating it annually. We've done it once and it's for 3 to 4 years, depending on, I don't know. This
Actually, it
template, I
says
think
it's-
Val came up
It's
with.
2 years. This is supposed to be done every 2 years.
Oh, I-
Simona, can you
2-year
get
period.
us the anticipated receipts from the edit tax for 2025?
And then we'll,
I think that would be on the form, what's the,
1782, or no, the.
no, it'd be
the,
on the miscellaneous revenue form, wouldn't it? Should be.
Well,
Okay. So let's try to get this done by next week if we can.
yeah,
so that we get it turned in.
I told AJ, I said, I know we've done a unit contribution agreement, but I'm not sure we've done an updated capital improvement plan in the last 5 years.
Well, and I don't recall whether we did one 2 years ago or not. But anyway, we need to do one for this upcoming.
Have you got
2
that
years.
template, Bobby, or is that? Oh,
Well, you can have my copy.
I'll take it.
All right.
Cambridge City.
Cambridge City, you have a copy of their designation of fractional amount of certified distribution of economic development income taxes. Can I have a motion? Or I guess we could do this tonight.
Could do it tonight, because I didn't know
So
if they,
council
I
and
don't know if
commissioners-
council signed it.
Council's not signed it
Let's do
yet.
it tonight then.
Yeah.
Not what you, their council, Cambridge City Council signed it, but not, or, no, heck. That's Hagerstown's. We don't want to sign that one. This is the 2 copies here. They did sign this one. So Max Smith and Jim McLean, so we still need
Yeah.
to sign it. So a motion to approve Cambridge City's unit contribution.
I'll make a motion to approve that. Second.
A motion and a second, and just to be signed by the president as part of your motion
Part of my motion will be just signed by the president, yes.
and part of your second. Signed by the president. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. I think. What else have you got, Bobby?
That is all I have.
Okay. That should be the list. Anything else from the auditor's office? No? Steve, anything else? Ron? Brad?
Nope.
Aaron?
I had a letter, but I've misplaced it, so I won't read it today. No, I'm kidding. I'm good, thank you.
How about if today would be the day for the letter A?
The letter
We'll do
A,
a
there you
different
go.
letter
I like
every
that.
meeting.
Let's
okay?
do A.
You be in charge.
A
of
is complete.
The letter of the day.
I will.
All right. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned.